Good morning, everybody. This is Pondian, Professor of Mechanical Engineering of Erode Secondary Engineering College, Perundurai. Today, we are going to discuss about the waste heat recovery. Okay, and as we know that what is waste heat? Okay, so the heat that is not being utilized. Okay, they are called as the waste heat, and we can make use of that heat for some processing applications. So that is known as the waste heat recovery. So waste heat means it is a heat that is not being utilized. Okay, so that's why we call it is a waste heat, and that waste heat can be used for some useful applications. So that is known as the waste heat recovery. So for that we are going to employ some systems, and that we are going to discuss one by one. So the contents of today's presentation is sources of the residual or the waste heat, and then utilization of the residual or the waste heat, and then the equipments used for recovery of the waste heats or heat pipes, heat pumps, recuperators, and the regenerators. Okay, so these are the various systems that we are making use of to recover the heat from the sources, different sources. Yeah. First, let me discuss about what is the definition of the residual or the waste heat. So, waste heat is the heat which is generated in a process by way of a fuel combustion or a chemical reaction, and then dumped into the environment, even though it could still be reused for some useful and economic purpose. So, this is called the definition of the residual or the waste heat, okay, which is generated in a process by way of the fuel combustion or chemical reactions, and then dumped into the atmosphere, even though it could still be reused for some useful and economic purpose. So the strategy of how to recover this heat depends in part on the temperature of the waste heat gases and the economics involved. So it depends upon the type of system employed to recover the heat is depending upon the temperature of the that gases. Now let us discuss about the source of residual heat. So there are many sources. Okay, so large quantity of the hot flue gases is generated from the boilers or the kilns and ovens and the furnaces. So if some of this waste heat could be recovered, a considerable amount of the primary fuel could be saved, and this energy lost in waste gases cannot be fully recovered. So the energy cannot be fully recovered, but it can, to some extent, we can recover the heat from the uh, gases. Okay, so depending upon the type of process, waste heat can be rejected at virtually any temperature, from that of the chilled cooling water to high temperature waste gases. So from an industrial furnace or the kiln. So usually higher the temperature, higher the quality, and more cost effective is the heat recovery. So depending upon the temperature only, we can say how much amount of energy can be recovered, or the heat can be recovered from that. Then this is the applications of the waste heat recovered. So we can make use of preheating of the air required for the combustion process, and the heat can also be used for the space heating, and also we can preheat the boiler feed water in the case of the thermal power plant, and also we can make use of the waters for some processing applications. Okay, that heat energy in the water can be used for some processing applications. So these are the applications of the waste heat required. Now we can classify the sources of the waste heat and its quality. Okay, so if depending upon the sources, we can say that how much would be the quality of the waste heat. So the heat in the flue gases from the power plants. So the higher the temperature, the greater the potential value for the heat recovery. So it all depends upon the temperature. So heat in the vapor streams, that is in the case of the steam exhaust steam, that may contain some amount of heat. Okay, as above, but when condensed, latent heat also can be recoverable. Okay, latent heat. So what is latent heat? That is heat removed from the condensation process. Okay, during the condensation process, and that heat purely called as a latent heat, because there you may not find any decrease in the temperature, but we can get that the conversion of the vapor form of the fuel, there is a vapor form of the substance into the liquid form. So during that conversion, some amount of the heat can be recoverable. Okay, that is called the heat in the vapor streams. Then convective and radiant heat loss from the exterior of the equipment. So in the case of the furnaces and all, okay, we can get that this kind of heat. So it is a low grade. Okay, if collected, may be used for some space heating or air preheating applications. And then the heat losses in the cooling water. So it is again it's a low grade. Okay, so useful for useful gains if heat is exchanged with the incoming fresh water. Then the heat losses in providing the chilled water or in the dispersal of the chilled water. So it is high grade if it can be utilized to reduce the demand for refrigeration. Low grade if refrigeration unit is used as a form of heat pump. Then heat stored in the products leaving the process. Okay, so it quality depends upon the temperature. Then heat in the gases and the liquid effluents leaving the process from the chemical industries. So it is poor if heavily contaminated and thus requiring alloy heat exchangers. So these are the different source of the heat, and it's the quality of the waste heat. So everything depends upon the temperature. Okay. So now we can have that depending upon the temperature range. We are there is a differentiating the heat sources into high temperature waste heat source, then medium temperature waste heat source, and then the low temperature waste heat source. So in the case of high temperature waste heat source, the temperature range will be from 600 degrees Celsius to 1650 degrees Celsius. Okay, so this is the temperature range for that the high temperature waste heat source. So here we have given different sources. It is nickel refining furnaces, aluminum refining furnaces, zinc refining furnaces, then copper refining furnaces, superheating furnaces, sorry, steel heating furnaces, copper reverberatory furnaces, open earth furnaces. Okay, open earth furnace that you may find majorly in many industries. Okay, many steel industries. We can note down this open earth furnaces. Then cement kilns, as in the case of the cement industries, and then the glass melting furnaces, then hydrogen plants, solid waste incinerators, okay, and then fume incinerators. So in all that applications that we may find that the temperature range will be from minimum 650 degrees Celsius to that maximum of 1650 degree Celsius. Okay, so this if the temperature ranges in between 600 to 1000, okay, 650 degrees Celsius, then they are called as a high temperature waste heat source. Then the next one is the medium temperature waste heat source. So here the temperature range from 230 to that 600 degrees Celsius. Okay, 230 to 600 degrees Celsius. So different waste heat sources are the steam boiler exhaust, gas turbine exhaust, reciprocating engine exhaust, then reciprocating engine exhaust, turbocharged engines. Okay, then heat treating furnaces, then drying and baking ovens, catalytic crackers, annealing furnace cooling systems. Okay, so in all these cases that we are releasing this much amount of energy into the atmosphere, so we can tap this much amount of energy from these sources of the gases. Okay, so these are all called the medium temperature waste heat source. So high temperature means from 600 degrees Celsius to 1650 degrees Celsius, whereas medium temperature means from 250 degrees or 230 degrees Celsius to 600 degrees Celsius or up to 650 degrees Celsius. Okay, then the next one is the low temperature waste heat source. Okay, so here the temperature ranges from atmospheric temperature to that of the that 200 degrees Celsius. Okay, so the different sources are the process steam condensates, cooling water from furnace doors, then bearings, welding machines, injection molding machines, annealing furnaces, forming dies, air compressors, pumps, internal combustion engines, air conditioning, refrigeration systems, then liquid still condensers, drying, backing, and curing ovens, hot processed liquids, hot processed solids. So these are the different sources of the low temperature waste heats. Okay. So depending upon the temperature of the sources, we can classify them as. Okay, then we are having that the benefits of the waste heat recovery. So what is its use? So the main benefits is we can affect on the efficiency of the process. So the efficiency can be enhanced by means of recovering the waste heat. Okay. Then indirect benefits are reduction in the pollution, reduction in the equipment use, okay, equipment sizes, and reduction in the auxiliary energy consumption. Okay. So these are the different direct benefits means we can able to increase the efficiency of the systems. Okay, and because of that we can have a lower fuel consumptions. Indirect benefits are there is a reduction in the pollutions, and then the reduction in the equipment sizes. Okay, and also that the reduction in the auxiliary energy consumptions. These are the benefits of the waste heat recovery. Then next we will see that the different equipments used for the waste heat recovery. One is the heat pipes, then heat pumps, recuperators, regenerators. So, okay, these are the various heat recovery equipments being used. Okay, and also that in the previous session that we have seen that the waste heat recovery steam generators. Okay, so that the steam generators is also being used for waste heat recovery purposes. But here we are going to mainly discuss about the heat pipes, heat pumps, and the recuperators and the regenerators. So what is a heat pipe? So a heat pipe can transfer up to 100 times more thermal energy than copper. So it is the best known conductor. Okay, and in other words, the heat pipe is a thermal energy absorbing and a transferring system, and have no moving parts and hence require minimum maintenance. Yes, absolutely correct. So the heat pipes doesn't have any that is the moving parts. Okay, and its energy absorbing capacity is 100 times more than the copper. Okay, and hence that we can make use of this heat pipe for transforming heat from or recovering the heat from the thermal energy sources. Then the heat pipe consists of the three elements. One is called a sealed container, and the second one is called a capillary wick structure, and third one is a working fluid. So the capillary wick structure is integrally fabricated into the interior surface of the container tube and is sealed under vacuum. Then the thermal energy applied to the external surface of the heat pipe is in equilibrium with its own vapor as the container tube is in the sealed under vacuum. Okay, so that is the main elements of the heat pipes are a sealed container, a capillary wick structure, and a working fluid. So the capillary wick structure is integrally fabricated into the interior surface of the container tube, and okay, that is and sealed under the vacuum. So the thermal energy applied to the external surface of the heat pipe is in equilibrium with its own vapor as the container tube is sealed under vacuum. So this is the so in the case of there are two types of the regions. One is called the evaporator region and another is called the condenser region. So the thermal energy applied to the external surface of the heat pipe. Okay, thermal energy applied to the external surface of the heat pipe causes the working fluid near the surface to evaporate instantaneously. So vapor thus formed absorbs the latent heat of vaporization, and this part of the heat pipe becomes an evaporator region. Okay, so here the liquid form of the substance is being converted into vapor form. Okay, and here it absorbs the latent heat of vaporization. So the vapor then travels to the other end of the pipe where the thermal energy is being removed, causing the vapor to condense into liquid again, and thereby giving up the latent heat of condensation. And this part of the heat pipe works as the condenser region. Okay, in the evaporator region, it absorbs the heat, and whereas in the case of the condenser region, it gives up the heat. Okay, so thereby we can have that the condensed liquid then flows back to the evaporator region for further absorbing the heat from the that evaporator region. Okay, these are the two ends of the heat pipes. So the heat pipes is a lightweight, compact heat recovery system, and the heat pipe can recover and it can capable of operating at the temperatures 315 degrees Celsius with 60% to 80% heat recovery capability. Okay, these are the different types of the capability of the heat pipes. Okay, so the heat pipes nowadays find major applications even in the cooling of electronic systems. Okay, in the cooling of electronic systems that the heat pipes are being employed. So this is the heat pipes. Okay, so this is called the evaporator region, and this is called the that condenser region. So this is the there is a heat pipe interior part, and the interior point, okay, on the inner surfaces, so there can be there is a wick surface, okay, wick surface, and here there is a vapor flow, and the liquid is passed here, and here it is a heat load being applied, and because of that, there is a wick surface, okay, that absorbs the heat from this heat load, okay, and then that is a vapor, and then the vapor is being taken into this condenser region, okay. During the condenser region, what it happens is, here it gives up the heat to the surrounding liquid, and thus it becomes a liquid, and then that liquid is again taken into that of the evaporator region, okay, where it is absorbing the heat from the surroundings, and again it is being converted from liquid into vapor, and again here the latent heat is being absorbed, and here the latent heat of condensation is there. So there are two types here. The heat is, okay, the conversion of the evaporation, that is the conversion of the liquid into vapor, and the vapor into liquid, it takes place continuously, okay. So this is the height against the gravity, so it should be held like that, okay, then only the flow of the fluids can be possible, okay. So this is the, here the gravity is acting in this direction. So this is the diagram of the heat pipes. So applications of the heat pipes, and it is used for process space heating. So the heat pipe heat exchanger transfers the thermal energy from process exhaust for building heating. So the preheated air can be blended if required. The requirement of the additional heating equipment to deliver heated makeup air is drastically reduced or eliminated. Okay, so it is mainly used in the space heating applications. So in the hill stations, that we are making use of these heat pipes for space heating. And the next one is the process to process. The heat pipe heat exchangers require a waste thermal energy from the process exhaust and transfers this energy to the incoming process air. And this incoming air thus become warm and can be used for the same process or other process, and reduces the process energy consumption. And it is also used for HVAC applications. There is heating, ventilating, air conditioning applications. So one is the cooling applications. So heat pipe heat exchangers pre-cools the building, so make up air in summer, and this reduces the total tons of refrigeration apart from the operation saving of the cooling system. So thermal energy is supplied recovered from the cool exhaust and transferred to the hot supply make up air. Okay, so it is mainly used for some cooling applications, and the heating, the above process reversed during the winter to preheat the makeup air. So as I told, in the hill stations that we are making use of the heat pipes for space heating applications. Okay, then next one, the other applications in industries are, there is a preheating of the boiler combustion air, recovery of the waste heat from furnaces, and reheating of the fresh air from hot air dryers, then recovery of the waste heat from catalytic deodorizing equipment, then reuse of the furnace waste heat as a heat source for other oven, then cooling of a closed rooms with outside air, then preheating of the boiler feed water with the waste heat recovery from flue gases in the heat pipe economizers, drying, curing, and baking ovens. So waste stream reclamation and brick kilns, there is a secondary recovery, then reverberatory furnaces and heating, ventilating, and air conditioning systems. So these are the other applications of the in industries. Okay, so thus we can make use of the heat pipes for, and again since it is a simple equipment, okay, which is more that is a very reliable equipment, okay, and since it requires a very less maintenance because it doesn't have any moving parts, okay. So only that pipe within which there is a wicked surfaces, and okay, and there are two regions. One is called the evaporator region, and another one is called the condenser region or condensing regions. Okay, so this how we can make use of heat pipes for processing applications. And then you please note that the heat pipes can also be called as the compact heat exchangers. Okay, compact heat exchangers. Then next one is the heat pumps. So as we all know that, what is the use of the heat pumps? So the main purpose of the heat pumps that is in usage is, it is used to extract the heat from the low temperature sink to that the high temp, and it supplies the heat to the high temperature sources. Okay, that's why we call it as it's a heat pumps. That is pumping the heat from that low temperature sources to that the high temperature, low temperature sink to that the high temperature sources. So it has been taken as a general rule of thumb in industrial operations that fluids with the temperatures less than 120 degrees Celsius or better 150 degrees Celsius to provide a safe margin as limit for waste heat recovery because of the risk of condensation of the corrosive fluids. Yes, we cannot take away the heat even below beyond the temperatures of 120 degrees Celsius, okay, or even better 150 degrees Celsius. We should not extract the heat from such equipments because it will have a corrosive effect, okay, corrosive effect. And so, however, as fuel costs continue to rise, even such waste heat can be used economically for space heating and other low temperature applications. So it is possible to reverse the direction of the spontaneous energy flow by the use of thermodynamic system known as the heat pump. As I told already that we have to recover the heat from the low temperature sink and it should be supplied to the high temperature source. So it is absorbing heat from the low temperature sink and it is sending the heat to the high temperature sources, hence we call it as a heat pumps. So the majority of the heat pumps work on the principle of the vapor compression cycle. So vapor compression cycle, as we come across the vapor compression refrigeration systems. Okay. So similarly here also that we are having that the heat pumps. So in the cycle, the circulating substances physically separated from the source. There is a waste heat with a temperature of 10 okay, TIN, and the user there is heat to be used in the process. There is T out streams and is reused in a cyclical fashion, therefore called as a closed cycle. So in the heat pump, the following processes are taking place. So in the evaporator, the heat is extracted from the heat source to boil the circulating substances. The circulating substance is compressed by the compressor, raising its pressure and temperature. So the low temperature vapor is compressed by a compressor which requires external work. So the work done on the vapor raises its pressure and temperature to a level where its energy becomes available for usage. Okay. Then the heat is delivered to the condenser. So the pressure on the circulating substance working fluid is reduced back to the evaporator condition in the throttling valve. So where the cycle repeats. Okay. So it involves all these components: evaporator section, then compressor section, condenser section, then the throttling valve. Okay. So here we can say that you can see the heat pumps. So the heat pump was developed as a space heating system. So where the low temperature energy from the ambient air or water or earth is raised to the heating system temperatures by doing compression work with an electric motor driven compressor. So here electric motor is used to drive the compressors. Okay. So this is an outdoor air. So the heat from the outdoor air is sucked by means of there is a evaporator section. So in the evaporator section, that the low temperature the substance is passing. Okay, low temperature substance is passing. That low temperature substance absorbing the heat from the outdoor air, and that the cold liquid. Okay, after absorbing the heat, it is again passing through that the compressors. Okay, it is passing through the compressors, and where it is undergoing the compression process. So the compressor is driven by means of the external source. Okay, so that heat, thus we are producing that high temperature and high pressure, the hot gas. Okay, hot fluid, and that fluid is again passing through that the condensation section, or we call it as a heat exchanger section. So here we are again that is in the condensation section that the vapor form of the substance is being converted into liquid form, and then the warm liquid is again passing through that the expansion valve or the throttling valve. So where the pressure is further being reduced, so we can get that the low temperature, low pressure, the liquid form of the substance again it is passing through the this evaporator section. So it again absorbs the heat from that the atmospheric air, and thus it becomes a vapor, and that vapor is again taken into that the compressor where it is compressed to high pressure and high temperature where liquid that is a vapor form, and that again hot gases is passing through that the condenser section. Like that the job is done again and again. So this is why we call it as a heat pump. So heat pump's main purpose is it has to extract the heat from the low temperature sources, and it's all supplied to the heat to that the high temperature sources. Okay. Then the heat pumps have the ability to upgrade the heat to a value more than twice that of the energy consumed by the device. So the potential for application of the heat pump is growing, and a number of industries have been benefited by recovering low-grade waste heat by upgrading it and then using it in the main process stream. So heat pump applications are most promising when both the heating and the cooling capabilities can be used in combination. So one such example of this is a plastics factory. So where chilled water from heat is used to cool injection molding machines, and whilst the heat output from the heat pump is used to provide factory or office heating. Okay. So the next one is the heat exchangers. There are two types of the heat exchangers. One is called the recuperative type, and another is called the regenerative type. So recuperative type may also be called tubular heat exchangers. So where there are many types. One is a concentrated type heat exchangers, or we can call it as a selective type heat exchangers. Okay. So in the case of there is okay, in the case of the recuperative type heat exchangers, so one fluid is passing through the okay, there is a hot fluid is passing through one pipes, and whereas the cold fluid is passing in the another pipe. So the heat is transferred. Okay, heat is transferred from one fluid to another fluid through the there is a metal surfaces. Okay, metal surfaces, and here there is no direct contact. Okay, here there is no direct contact of the fluids. Okay, here the heat transfer is through the metal surfaces. So that is called the tubular heat exchangers. Okay, or we can also call as a recuperative type heat exchangers. Then another one is called the regenerative heat exchangers. So regenerative heat exchangers, there are again two types. So one is called the rotary type, and another one is called the storage type. Okay, so in the rotary type, continuously when the rotor is rotating, so one side we will be having there is one part of the heat exchanger that is exposed to that the cold stream, and another part of the heat exchanger is exposed to that of the hot stream. So such cases when the kiln is continuously changing, okay, its positions. So it is when the cold stream is exposed to that the surfaces, it rejects the heat. Whereas when the hot stream is exposed to that of the fluids, then it absorbs the heat. Like that, the continuous heat exchange is taking place in the regenerative type heat exchangers. So one is called it is a rotating type, and another is called the storage type. Storage type means where the fluid is alternatively passed. Okay, whereas here the fluid is are held at the rest, whereas there is a heat exchangers are subject to rotate. Okay, like that there are two types of the heat exchangers. So now let us see that the recuperative type heat exchangers. So we can also call it as the there is a tubular heat exchangers. So there are many tubes are arranged. Okay, here either in the inline manner or in a style that is there is okay, another type is there is zigzag manner. Okay, so it is arranged, and through the tubes, cold fluids will be made to pass. Okay, cold fluids will be made to pass, whereas surrounding the tubes, the okay, the hot gases are exposed, and then the heat is when the fluid when the cold fluid is passing through the tubes, and it absorbs the heat from the surrounding fluids, and thus okay, and this it gets preheated, and then the preheated air is taken, okay, okay, at the bottom, whereas the exhaust gas from the process, it is passing in the okay, and this is called the mixed type of mixed flow type of the heat exchangers. What is called the mixed flow type means here the cold fluids are moving down, whereas the that is in the vertical directions, whereas the hot gases are moving in the horizontal directions. So here the directions of the flow of the fluids are perpendicular to each other. Okay. So why we have such a mixed flow type of the heat exchangers is, so in that cases that we can get more okay, heat extractions from the hot gases. Okay, that's why we are going for this type of the heat exchangers. And there are also the silent tube heat exchangers. Okay, so in the case of the recuperative type heat exchangers, so recuperative is a type of heat exchanger that has a separate flow paths for each fluid. Okay, here there is no mixing of the fluids. So along their own passages, so heat is transferred through the separating walls. Okay, heats are transferred through the separating walls. So recuperatives example or examiner, there is economizers used in the thermal power plants are often used in the power engineering to increase the overall efficiency of the thermodynamic cycles. So, for example, in a gas turbine engine, okay, so the recuperator transfers some of the waste heat into in the exhaust to the compressed air, thus preheating it before entering into the combustion chamber. So, many recuperators are designed as a counterflow heat exchangers. So, what we are seeing here is a that is mixed flow heat exchangers, but many heat exchangers are counter flow heat exchangers. So what is that? The counter flow heat exchangers? Counter flow means the both the fluids are moving in the opposite directions. Okay, so that is why that kind of heat exchangers are called the counter flow heat exchangers. Okay, so in a recuperator, the heat exchange takes place between the flue gases and the air through the metallic or the ceramic walls. So duct or the tubes carry the air for combustion to be preheated. The other side contains that the waste heat stream. So the simplest configuration for a recuperator is the metallic radiation recuperator. So which consists of two concentric lengths of the metal tubing. Okay, so here we can see that the co-current and the counter-current heat exchangers. So co-current heat exchangers is also called as a parallel flow heat exchangers. So parallel flow heat exchanger means both the fluids, both the hot fluid and the cold fluid will be moving in the same directions. Okay, that's why we call it as a parallel flow fluids. So at the entry, the cold fluid at the very low temperature, whereas the hot fluid at the very high temperature. So when during the process of moving, so the hot fluid loses its heat, whereas the cold fluid gains its heat. So at the exit, we can get that the cold fluid temperature will be higher, whereas the hot fluid temperature will be lower. Okay, so this is called the co-current fluid heat exchangers. But you can see that at the entry, you may find that there is a temperature difference between the cold fluid and the hot fluid, whereas at the exit, you may find that the temperature difference will be very less. Whereas in the case of the counter current heat exchangers, so there are both fluids are moving in the opposite directions. Okay, in such cases, here at the entry and as well as the exit, we are maintaining nearly equal temperature difference at all. At all intermediate points, and thus here the heat exchange will be better compared to that of the heat exchange in the recovery type of the heat. That is a parallel flow heat exchangers. Hence, that I have told that is a counter current heat exchangers are being mainly used in the waste heat recovery systems. Okay. And as I told this is the one kind of selective heat exchangers. So in the cell side, the hot fluids are admitted, whereas in the tube sides, the cold fluids are being admitted. So when the cold fluids are passing through the tube sides, it absorbs the heat from that the hot fluids, and thus it get heated up, and then so the hot fluids are moving out, whereas the hot fluid which is entering surrounding the tubes, okay, it loses its heat, okay, and because of that, its temperature will be lesser at the cell side. Cell outlet is this one. Okay, so this is the storage type or regenerator. So storage type means, as I told here there is a wick type surface will be there, and when the wick type surface, when it is exposed to that of the cold stream, okay, that is sorry hot stream, and here it absorbs the heat, okay, it absorbs the heat, and then the heat is transferred to the wick surface, okay, it is transferred to the wick surface, and then at this end here in the side the hot stream is exposed, so that also that okay, and it is leaving the heat, whereas here on the bottom side we can find that, so here it is storage type means first it is stored in the wick and then the heat is being removed from the wick surfaces. That's why we call it as a storage type of the heat exchangers. So the advantages of the regenerators are, so the advantage of regenerators over recuperating type heat exchanger is that it has a much higher surface area for a given volume, so which provides a reduced exchanger volume for a given energy density, effectiveness, and a pressure drop. So this makes the regenerator more economical in terms of materials and manufacturing compared to one on the equivalent recuperator. So the disadvantages of the regenerator type of the heat exchanger is it is a rotary and a fixed matrix regenerators is that there is always some mixing of the fluid streams. Okay. So whereas in the case of the recuperative type, there cannot be any mixing of the fluids. Whereas in the case of the regenerative type, so there is a possibility for the mixing of the fluid streams, and then they cannot be completely separated. So there is an unavoidable carryover of a small fraction of the one fluid stream into the other. So in the rotary generator, the carryover fluid is trapped inside the radial seal and in the matrix, and then in a fixed matrix regenerator, carrier fluid is the fluid that remains in the void volume of the matrix. So mixed flow is a common for a gas-to-gas heat and or energy transfer applications, and less common in the liquid or phase-changing fluids, since fluid contamination is often prohibited with the liquid flows. So the constant heating and cooling that takes place in the regenerative heat exchangers puts a lot of stress on the components of the heat exchanger, so which can cause cracking or breakdown of the materials. Because here the heat that is the storage type or the rotary type of the regenerative type heat exchanger, it is continuously, alternatively, it is exposed to the hot and cold streams, and thus the there is the material properties are getting deteriorated because of that, and thus there is a possibility for failure of the equipments. And okay, so with this we will close that the various heat transfer equipments being used for recovery of the waste heat. So in a short we will okay, we will see what we have discussed today. That we have discussed that the what is residual heat or the sources, okay, or the waste heat, and we can then identify different sources of the waste heats, okay, and also we have classified the source heats according to the temperatures, okay, as a medium heat waste heat, that is a medium temperature waste heats, and then the high temperature waste heats, and then low temperature waste heats, and we can how we can classify means according to the temperature. So if the temperature ranges from 650 degrees Celsius to 1650 degrees Celsius, then it is called the high temperature waste heats. And then if the temperature ranges from 230 degrees Celsius to 650 degrees Celsius, then it is called the there is a medium temperature waste heats. Then if the temperature okay, ranges from 30 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius or up to 230 degrees Celsius, we can classify them as low temperature waste heats. And we have seen that the different equipments used for the recovery of the waste heats, such as heat pipes, and then the heat pumps, okay, and also that the heat exchangers. So there are two types of the heat exchangers. One is called the recovery type, and another is called the regenerative type. So recovery type means it is a common, there is a tubular heat exchangers, whereas in the regenerative type means it contains there are two types. One is called the storage type, and another there is a fixed type and the rotary type, okay. And here the fluids are continuously exposed to that of the, okay, both the cold fluids and the hot fluids are alternately exposed to that of the regenerative type of the heat exchangers, and thus it is subject to failure, okay. And also there is a possibility for the mixing of both the streams in the case of the regenerative type heat exchangers. Okay, friends, I hope you might have understand the concept of the waste heat, and okay, and then how it can be recovered, and what are the different equipments used for the recovery of the waste heats. So thank you very much for your patience hearing.